puzzle is coming together. The
Yeah.
energy is there. Blessings all.
Grateful, grateful. And also with a wordsmith, masterful engagement and exchange, and being able to bring not just jurisprudence and the legal perspective to the forefront, but to bring all levels of air, fire, earth, water, spirit, and water. Notice I said it like out of intentionally, because that ancestral spiritual vibration is always shared and highlighted by our beloved African Queen Mother Warrior, Sister Esther Side.
Giving thanks for being here. I was missing for a session or two, but I'm glad to be back. I was missing in action, doing the work.
Right, right.
But
Miss
I've been found. I've been found, and I'm back.
Beautiful, grateful, and giving thanks. So, for the persons that may not be as familiar as to what is African Queen Mother Warriors, there is a orientation that is available if you look on any of our previous podcasts. We've been more formal, I should say, from December of last year, and then we've been making the intentional work move forward to be able to gather, have these reasonings at least once a month. And we usually do them on the Sundays. Usually we do it on the third Sunday. However, this month, because there's so many things happening in the international, global, regional, national, as well as homegrown local spaces, it was imperative that we gathered in this forum, in this time, in this compensation, to make sure that we keep things in Ma'at, in truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance, divine righteousness, and harmony. Hence the vibration of love offered through our opening video with the powerful songstress, Desiree. And I always encourage persons, and we give thanks. You know, she's one of our homegrown daughters here in St. Croix, and has impacted global communities specifically through her ability to use her voice to tell the narrative, to tell this to the legacy. And part of what we're sharing this morning is also linked to, since everyone's speaking of anniversaries, this is also an anniversary of the formal development, if you will, of not something that just happened 10 years ago, but the legacy of work of each of us that extends beyond scores. And notice I said scores plural, right? Many of us, we just look young and we carry ourselves to the best of our ability to keep that youthfulness. However, many of us have been in the trenches, in this work for decades upon decades. And so what we're sharing is coming from a space of being researchers, of being artists, of being organizers, of being activists, of being midwives. And when I speak of midwifery, midwives of the physical birth piece, but also spiritual midwives, political midwives, economic midwives, I can go on. So I would like for persons to just have that in the forefront as you're listening and hearing some of the reasoning. It was April 11th, 2015. And there were a number of international reparation initiatives happening, not only in the 48 contiguous US, but also in other parts of the globe. And there was a culmination during this global reparation movement that's really 21st century focus to support and highlight the designation that was in place for the United Nations first International Decade for People of African Descent. Again, the themes around recognition, justice, and development. And I'll just highlight the opening statement that came at the conclusion of that April 9th to 11th International Reparations Summit that to this day has still remained unanswered. And it was a simple, what does that translate into for our people in regard to these summit, that particular summit and those that preceded it? And then I quote, respectfully, all the voices and actions with sacred intentions for our liberation, unification, and sovereign social governance are to be included. In simple terms, without equal male and female involvement in the reparations movement, there can be no recognition, justice, and development. I want us to simmer on that for a second, because the entire statement, one page, was disseminated widely and with very few commentaries, inclusive of the video that has sat for over 9 years, well, now 10 years, on YouTube, for persons to see and hear what was said immediately following that particular gathering, based on how sistren like us
Beloved,
were
the warrior.